Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to be joined today by Mark Wolf, the Executive Director of the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, John Drew, the President and CEO of Action for Boston Community Development, and Liz Berube, the Executive Director of Citizens for Citizens in Fall River, Massachusetts. John and Mark and Liz are doing God's work every day to help our most vulnerable residents access to heating and other resources they need to live with dignity, especially in the midst of this crisis. Coronavirus cases continue to surpass tragic, record-breaking highs in Massachusetts and across the country. Millions remain out of work as Republicans continue to block our efforts to extend unemployment lending and housing aid deadlines. We need to work together. And currently, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program are set to expire on December 26th, just one day after Christmas. And now we are entering the winter months and what many are calling potentially the darkest time in the pandemic. A recent study found that 1.3 million households in our country now have an average of $5,400 in debt on rent and utilities. We are teetering on the edge of a financial cliff that is forcing already vulnerable households to make the impossible decisions of either putting food on the table, covering rent, or keeping the heat on through the cold winter months. This week in Massachusetts, temperatures are expected to dip into the mid-20s. And we all know that when temperatures drop, heating bills begin to pile up for many families in the Commonwealth. Last March, I introduced legislation with my Senate colleagues to push states and utilities to issue a moratorium on gas and electric service disconnections, late fees, reconnection fees, rate hikes, and other penalties for consumers who were struggling during the pandemic. For months, utility moratoriums at the state level help protect customers from electric, water, and natural gas shutoffs. But as many of these moratoriums come to an end across the country, no household should have to suffer in order to pay their other bills this winter. Here in Massachusetts, we have a moratoria on disconnections through April 1st. Our Commonwealth can serve as an example to the rest of the nation as we enter the long winter months. But no one anywhere should be left to fall sick because they're falling behind. And we know that this energy bill debt does not disappear. As utility bills continue to pile up, the utility shutoff moratoria is a temporary fix, not the long-term solution to this crisis. That is why I'm joining with my partners here today to call for an additional $10 billion for the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP. This funding increase would help as many as 7 million families pay off their escalating utility debt. Before the coronavirus pandemic, there were 26 million families across the country who were eligible for energy assistance. Of those eligible families, around 160,000 households in Massachusetts were able to receive LIHEAP assistance. But this year, Mark Wolf and his experts are projecting that an additional 5 million households will be eligible for energy assistance due to pandemic-related layoffs. The LIHEAP program is more than just a line in the budget. It is a lifeline during tough economic times. But the number of households eligible for LIHEAP continues to vastly exceed those receiving assistance, especially this year. Current LIHEAP funding is only sufficient to help 1 out of 6 eligible households, which is unbelievable. And that's without any wiggle room for newly unemployed families. In the CARES Act this May, I fought to include $900 million, including $28 million for Massachusetts in LIHEAP supplemental funds. But 7 months later, we need more funding to help vulnerable families, and seniors receive this vital fuel assistance. Sadly, despite escalating home heating fuel prices, LIHEAP's authorized funding level has remained stagnant since 2005. But that hasn't stopped President Trump's relentless attacks on LIHEAP recipients. From 2017 to 2021, LIHEAP funding to Massachusetts decreased by about $15 million, even as total funding for LIHEAP increased by nearly $350 million. And that's because the Federal Department of Health and Human Services is using outdated energy price information to determine LIHEAP allocations. They are currently using data that is years out of date for fuel costs and weather projections, instead of up-to-date information in determining how to distribute LIHEAP funds to the states that need it. As a result, some of the LIHEAP money that gets awarded to states like Massachusetts is divorced from the reality of what families will spend this winter to heat their homes. LIHEAP helps Massachusetts families keep warm even when the snow is falling, the wind is blowing, and budgets get tight. $10 billion in LIHEAP funding would go a long way in providing a safety blanket for families as we see extreme winter temperatures. New England winters are often severe, but additional funding for LIHEAP could help thousands survive a harsh winter that will be historically harsh for reasons old and new. Thank you for being here today. And now I would like to introduce my friend, the Executive Director of the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, Mark Wolf.
Thank you, Senator. As Senator Markey said, I represent the National Energy Assistance Directors Association, which is comprised and represents the state directors of the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP. For those of you who don't know this, Senator Markey has been a leader in supporting energy assistance for struggling families. In fact, he was there at the beginning of the program more than 30 years ago. The program now serves more than 6 million very low-income families across the country. More than 80% of these families have at least one member who is elderly, disabled, or they have a young child under the age of 6. Low-income families are facing insurmountable utility as well as rent and mortgage debt loads right now, and it's growing. These are pandemic-related debts. As many know, frontline workers have taken the brunt of the pandemic-related recession. These include primarily low-wage workers, waitresses, waiters, people who clean our streets, drive our buses. These are the people who have been most affected by the pandemic. We estimate that families right now can be facing as much as $3,000 in utility debt by the end of the year. And all signs point to a colder winter, and those numbers will only grow. We're very, very worried about how these debts will be paid. We're facing conditions you'd not be surprised to see in a Charles Dickens novel, to be honest. Families are falling behind on their rent. We're seeing long food lines. For the first time in years, middle-class families who can't pay their utility bills. These are families who don't even know where to go for help. They're not used to asking for help. They're used to paying their own way. We think there's an extra 7 or 8 million households that were formerly middle class for all purposes, but they've lost their jobs and now need help. LIHEAP regular funding is enough to help about 6 million families. It's not enough to help 8 million or 9 million or 10 million families. The extra $900 million in CARES funding that Senator Markey mentioned certainly helps, but it's not enough to make a significant difference in the need. We're asking for $10 billion extra, and what would that $10 billion buy? It would help up to another 7 million families. It would help them pay off the utility debt that's growing and help us work out strategies with the utilities to forgive the debt. All that's very, very important. We can't let these families at the end of the pandemic restart their lives owing $3,000 or $4,000 in debt. They'll never get back on their feet. And I think that's what's really important. One of the points I try to make is Congress passed the Paycheck Protection Program. It was a great program. And it's provided loans to small and actually large businesses as well. But the thing is, the loans are all forgiven. And if we can forgive loans to corporations, certainly we can forgive them to working class families. LIHEAP is only funded to serve 1 out of 6 families. But one point I do want to make is we still have funding available. The program just started this winter. We don't want to discourage people from applying. And most states still have some of the extra $900 million left, but the money won't last long. So we do want to encourage people to apply for assistance. I think last thing I'd like to mention as part of, as we go forward, is that this is a moving target. Right now, we think we need about $10 billion, but the numbers could grow higher. Our estimates are that utilities alone, that debts are reaching about $32 billion in residential arrearages by the end of this year. And that between 15 and 20% of residential customers are at least 60 days behind on their energy and natural gas bills. And for some people, those who lost their jobs in March, they could be behind by 9 months. And you can see how by the end of the pandemic, if you think of March as the end of the pandemic or April, whenever the economy starts to recover, families could be behind by as much as a year on their bills. And so we have to help those families get back on their feet. And lastly, to mention is that the standard approach that's been taken in the past when families fell behind is to come up with repayment programs. That works fine if you're behind by 2 or 3 months. It doesn't work if you're behind by more than a year. A working class family making maybe $35,000 a year is not able to enter into a repayment plan for $3,000 or $4,000. As such, that's why we're calling for these debts to be written off and help family get back on their feet when the moratorium ends. Thank you.
Senator, I believe you might be muted.
Great. Now, I would like to introduce John Drew, who runs ABCD, Action for Boston Community Development. He is the poor people's spokesperson, protector in the city with ABCD. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Senator. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Good, good. Thank you again, Senator. Some years back, I appeared before your committee when you were in the other house, and we were talking about why we were not getting the authorized funding of $5.1 trillion. So those high marks were there. At one point, we were going to get a lot more money, but that went down. Okay, that went away. And I'm here to try to articulate what I see on the ground during this pandemic. I have been doing this work for 50 years, and I was here with OPEC in '74. This is something that is hard to describe to people who are not directly hit with the economy falling on their heads back in March, lost their jobs, everything else that went with their lives, not recovered. And then we had CARES, which I thought was a wonderful start to get some money into people's pockets and to get $600 of unemployment, keeping their heads above water. We were able to do that. And then on August 1st, that went away. That $600 went away. The $1,200 was used up. And here we are, still talking about something that may happen when, in fact, we're going into the winter not with people who have arrearages only. We're going into the winter with 1 out of 6 families or more with eviction notices. So you're awful hard to heat a house if people's on the streets homeless. We've got a food insecurity situation. The CAPS, community action programs across the country, Liz and I, we've been the ones that brought this forward. We're also using our money that we're able to get through the CARES Act to feed people today as best we can. I have a Head Start program with 2,000 moms and dads who are, awful lot of them have no food and they're struggling. And I got a call yesterday about a 5-year-old in Head Start who I've known since he was 9 months old, lost his grandmother to COVID. And she was working, and we're going to help him pay the funeral costs. This all hits home as you're trying to think about how do we now let people know that we have another piece of ammunition called LIHEAP. And I wish Senator Markey, I love you, we go way back. I wish there was 100 senators called Senator Markey, because that CARES Act 2 should have been out. And the misery that's brought us here now with the people we see every day, trying to make choices, trying to deal with whether the kids go to school, they don't go to school, whether they should stay home, have no income, take care of their children. Awful choices being made. At the same time, they can't pay the rent. And you folks have been kind of good. And Liz, who's been my champion for years, will all say the right things that you should about this, what's happening. I can only tell you on the ground, for a good part of our communities, it's miserable. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of people doing really well, and that's a subject for another day. But I can tell you, millions are not millions, and that's growing every day as we come closer to businesses closing and laying off. And we got December 26th, the folks know their unemployment runs out. In England, they call that Boxer Day. I think in the United States, it means getting boxed by losing your unemployment. The only life hold you have is an unemployment check. There's no job to go back to. So I would echo everything we said. I think that we need more than a moratorium. We need a complete moratorium, including utilities, including the deliverables for oil. We just have to guarantee they had the money to be able to keep delivering to the households, because there is no moratorium on oil or propane. So I appreciate the media being on, because, and thank you, Senator, for making that happen, because we have to get the word out to our communities, to people who are home. They can't get out necessarily to get to us. We're trying to get to them. We know they're all out there by the hundreds and hundreds of thousands. And so we need to get that word out, and we do remote work with them, but a lot of people don't have the ability to do remote work. So the more we can press out that LIHEAP is on the ground, call us, make sure that you do call us. And by the way, when you call us, and Liz and all the other caps, will make sure that you minimally walk away with 2 bags of groceries. And we'll talk to you about that eviction notice, because we want you to keep your home. So then we can help you by providing heating assistance to that home. And that all connected today in a major way. And I think the trend is very disturbing, Senator, that the amount of dollars that have been made available this winter is less. The amount of benefits that my state is looking at is at least $200 less than last year. And it should be doubled, it should be tripled. We need people to have most of their LIHEAP, most of their fuel bills this winter covered by LIHEAP, so they can have some ability to pay the rent. It's that drastic, it really is. And we need to keep these things up and get the word out. And I wish the folks who are now in Washington, who are debating how many angels there are on the head of a pin and whether somebody gets a liability, I don't understand it. And the people I talk to don't understand it. Why are they, not you, Senator, but why are these people holding this up? We've been waiting. We're going in the winter. It's cold. I got to turn the heat on. My mom is 73, 85. If I don't have any heat, she dies. This is about life and death this winter, as much or more than ever before. So I can thank you, but I do want to push the message out as far as I can that all over the country, our fellow Americans, our fellow human beings are suffering. Now is not the time to pull punches. Now is not the time to go low. We really need a huge federal intervention. If we don't, then I can only tell you that we'll be on the ground. All the caps will be on the ground. All the charities will be on the ground. We're working with everybody. The lifeline right now is the charities across the country working with small governments to try to keep people alive. So we do need more help for the states. We do need more help for the cities. We need more help for the schools. And even though I can look down the road and see possibility of this pandemic be able to survivable, but probably a year from now, we can't gather, we can't keep waiting. Senator, thank you so much for the opportunity today. I know I get emotional at times, but I've been there. I've been there in the past. I know what it is to sit there and not be able to pay your rent and not be able to feed your kids, and how much it takes out of you emotionally, depression. Unfortunately, suicides are up. So right now, if we can't heat people's homes, they can't, and we can't help them during a time of an international global earth disaster. When else are we going to do it? So, Senator, 10 billion or whatever you can get higher, please, because we need help. The only way we can stop something that always happens every April and May is that when there's a moratorium, which is absolutely necessary, the shut-off notices go out because the people haven't paid their arrearages. So I think something Mark and you said, we need funding to be there to pay the arrearages so people don't get shut off in May. This is an ongoing thing, but I would say let's think about the times we're living now. Hopefully we don't see it again. And let's go on the other end saying we saved as many people as we can. We helped as many people as we can, and we survived. And life will have to go on, and we'll look back and say, well, we did what we could. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John, so much. Thank you for your powerful words. Now from Liz Berube, the Executive Director of Citizens for Citizens down in Fall River and Taunton.
Thank you, Senator Markey. And I just want to say, thank you so much for your 30 years of support, and your staff is incredible. I've worked hand in hand with Hannah and Jeremy and Morgan through the years, and they are fantastic, top notch. So kudos to them. The unfortunate thing about going last in this is, of course, Mark Wolf and John have taken all the great things, and I don't want to seem repetitive, but as John mentioned, as a community action agency, one of the 24 of us in the state, we are keeping people alive every single day. Food pantry in Fall River, we used to serve 200 families a month. We're serving over 800. These are people who've never, ever had to stand in a line to get food. It's actually heartbreaking. But the $10 billion, I can't say enough and how quickly we need it. As Mark mentioned, all the states just got the regular allocations, and we don't want people to wait and defer and not come in for the regular program, but we have millions of people nationwide that don't even know that they're eligible for this program because they were middle income people, and they may not know where to apply. We're trying so hard nationwide, statewide, citywide, to try to get the word out. But we need the $10 billion nationwide so we can take care of these arrearages for these people. Luckily in Massachusetts, with your leadership, and we have a wonderful relationship with our utilities, I must say, which is very unique in a lot of other states that don't have it. So we have a unique positive relationship, and it was easy to get the utilities to agree to a moratorium. I think it's sinful that it's not like that nationwide, and we should be proud in Massachusetts with your leadership that we are protecting our people and they're not getting shut off. But, you know, it could be a tsunami in April or May when everybody starts to get those notices, and we want the money now so we can actually get people to come in now. And as John said, there are people that, you know, they're not computer savvy. So we can do things. If they can't do it, you know, remotely, we actually can talk to them on the telephone, and we can do things over the telephone if they're not savvy enough to do it online. It's pretty fearful for people that have never had to utilize any social service program. It's frightening, and I can't believe, this is America, and people, could have just basic needs of life compromised. Very, very sad. And again, I know you are doing your best, and as Mark and John mentioned, I can't believe that it has taken this long. We're so appreciative for the CARES money we received way back when, and we actually in Massachusetts pushed that to use for this year's program, thank the good Lord. But we know there's more people nationwide in Massachusetts that need us, and we definitely need that bump up. Again, I don't want to seem repetitive, but thank you for everything you're doing. And the 10 billion is huge. And if there's anything that we can do for you in Massachusetts to help this move along, just say the word and we'll be there with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz, so much for your beautiful words. Taylor, are there any questions for our great leaders?
Yeah, if everyone could drop possible questions that they have in the chat, we will read those aloud and try to get those questions answered. Thank you.
If nobody's going to say anything, I'll just say a couple more things. But LIHEAP is, people may think it's just a bill paying program. We actually keep people alive. It's not that we're just paying bills. We keep people safe. We want them to remain in their homes, not become homeless. A lot of our clients nationwide are elders. They've worked their entire lives and are living on reduced fixed incomes, small pensions. In Massachusetts, most of our clients are elderly and working poor. So they have been doing all the right things. They get up and go to work every day in a non-pandemic environment. And now here they are, a lot of them have lost their jobs or collecting unemployment, and just all the businesses that are closing. As John said, it's very depressing. Suicide rate is up. It's very sad. So just wanted to throw that in there, that fuel assistance, and with our weatherization efforts and efficiency, we're trying everything we can to stretch those fuel assistance dollars. So.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Liz? Taylor.
I'll take that as a compliment. Ben Kale from Mass Live says, curious if this $10 billion boost would be a part of a potential stimulus, or if the senator is bringing forward some new legislation. Also curious if this is an area where there's bipartisan support in the Senate.
Well, the $10 billion could be included in the new COVID relief package, or it could be included in the end of the year, which is what we're working on right now, appropriations bills. So it could be in either bill, or it could be in both in terms of the total amount. That's why we're putting on a full court press to make sure that we include money in one or both of those bills, but it's absolutely essential that the money be there. And so we're looking at all avenues, and there are two major opportunities right now. We don't have to wait. We can work right now to include the money in the COVID relief package or into the big appropriations bill, which is going out pretty much in the same time frame over the next 8 to 10 days.
Any other questions? From Nick DeCosta-Clippa at Boston.com. Hi there. I know there's currently a bipartisan proposal by Senators Manchin and Romney that doesn't include this $10 billion boost, nor does it include stimulus payments and other things Senator Markey has called for. Would he be willing to support it?
Well, that's what Senator Duckworth and I and members of the House are doing. We're making it very clear to the leadership that we want funding included in the COVID relief package and into the appropriations bills. That's the fight that we're in right now. That's the letter that we've sent to leadership to highlight this issue and to make sure that funding is included.
Any other questions being dropped in the chat here?
Can I jump in while you're waiting? I would not want to take the opportunity and lost to not say, call me at 617, what is it? 617, God almighty, I actually have my own number. I feel bad up here. Jump in, folks. I'll give you another number. Statewide, Massachusetts, 800-612-8175. That will get you to any one of the 24 community action. And by the way, my number is 6012. And call me, and Liz will give you her number, because we got to keep telling you folks through you how to find us. In the past, they would line up outside my doors. Now, they're not coming out of the house. So we really need more and more to let people know how we connect with each other. And this is one way of doing it. Telephone is a way to do it, because at least we can get people going in a right direction. And we can also do emergency deliveries with that telephone number when they're out of oil. So I'm giving you my number, and Liz has a number, and we have 23 other numbers. Call us. Call my own personal phone number, even though I'm not going to give it to you right now. I put it out usually. Call me 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I usually don't sleep. Please contact us or find ways we can contact you.
Thank you, John.
Right now.
Thank you, John. You guys are heroes. Heroes need help. And we're going to try to make sure you get the extra money that you need. Liz needs, Mark, national coordinator needs, and we're going to be able to do that. So thank you all so much for joining us today. And we're on this, and any more information you need, you can come through. You can come through Taylor, and she will help to connect you. But thank you all for your great leadership.
Thank you, Senator.